Hello Misfitians and welcome to another video. So this is going to be something a little bit different compared to my normal videos that I do on this channel. This one is not going to be super edited. It's more going to be just a chat time and a behind the scenes of what's going on with the art studio and work, basically behind the scenes. A lot of you over Christmas on Instagram, I asked for voting of what you would like to see in 2019. And this concept was one of the things that you really wanted to see. So if you're not following me on Instagram, please make sure to go follow me on Instagram because I'm going to be having polls of topics of what to talk about in these videos. And I think about 2 weeks ago, I had a poll of would you rather see art books that inspire me, or would you rather see kind of an art studio tour of how I organize my space? And it was super close, but art studio tour won. Now I am going to bring back that idea of the art books in a future poll. So if you want to be involved in that, please make sure to follow me on Instagram so you can be involved in the voting process. However, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this topic for this week, which is how I set up my whole art studio and organized it and kind of give you a tour of behind the scenes. So currently I'm actually working on a very large project, so you're gonna see what it looks like when I'm filming in here. And this actually, it's hard to tell, but this actually is a very small bedroom. So the very first thing that I really had to do when I was organizing my art studio was prioritize what I actually needed done in this room. And so I created kind of workspaces if you are into teaching or you're learning how to teach, or even if you have kids who are in a teaching environment. You've probably noticed that teachers set up their classrooms with workstations. And I learned how to do that in school, and so that's kind of how I set up my art studio. So every area in this room has a workstation that has a primary goal or specific task that is supposed to be done in that area. So the very first thing that I did is I divided the room into work stations, basically. And the middle of the room is the most important for me. I prioritized that part because that is first off where my lighting is perfect. I have 2 windows in this room, so I have lighting coming from the back and lighting coming from the side, which illuminates the table really well in the middle. And this is where I film, and this is where I set up my whole painting process. And then from there, I kind of decided what areas I needed to create workstations from there, basically building out. So I also needed an editing station, which is basically my desk, so I can edit these videos, and that was pretty much set from the very beginning. The thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, or I didn't even think about, was how wonderful it is to have large closets. So I've noticed a lot of small bedrooms, they usually try and make up for it for having a large closet. So one thing that I really made sure to do in the space is prioritize how I organized this closet and also created a really nice environment for storage in that environment. So one thing that I did is I actually added bookshelves in there to help aid the process of just kind of putting stuff where I could see it. I'm actually, a lot of you I think assume that I'm very organized and I'm very, and from this environment it looks like I'm very organized and I just like things in certain places. But the thing is, I'm actually, and I think most creative people are, they're kind of messy, and I'm very messy when I'm in my workflow. But this is such a small environment. If I don't prioritize organization, I'm basically tripping over myself, and it makes the process so much longer, and then I'm not able to put out videos as quickly to all of you. So I really had to make sure that this environment was organized as best as I possibly could make it. So all of last year actually was this studio completely being rehauled, which is part of the reason why I wasn't able to put out as many videos, because sometimes this area was an absolute wreck. And so part of that process was figuring out how I actually needed to organize areas. So the closet eventually was like the biggest eye opener of putting basically bookshelves in there and putting little bins that you could pull in and out with stuff. And then another eye opener for me was buying a label maker. That was incredible. That helped me so much. So a lot of times when I'm organizing stuff, I'll create a system, but then a week or two later, I'll forget the system that I created and then it will get all messed up. So by buying a label maker, that helped so much with me being able to set up the system that I was organizing and then keep to it. So if you're looking to rehaul a little small bedroom and create it into an art studio, I highly, highly recommend buying a label maker. That helped so much. So once I got my kind of storage, my editing area, those were actually my three main areas. The next thing that I needed, and a lot of you have actually commented on it, was I needed more storage. But I didn't have any more room. So one of the things that I bought was a wall divider, and then behind that, it looks really pretty and it looks very aesthetically pleasing, but actually behind that is more storage that I've hidden away from the camera. So if I ever need to do a pan into this art studio, that is another area that I can have storage. Another area that I feel like is really, or another thing that I feel like is really incredible for me personally as storage is roller carts. Anytime I can find a really nice roller cart, I'll usually pick it up because I know I can use it somewhere in this space. They are so awesome, first off, because they look really nice, but at the same time, I can pull them or push them wherever I need them at that moment in time. So I actually have one roller cart that is underneath my art table that has all of my watercolor papers or anything that I would need while I'm painting, so that I'm not having to dig into a specific area of the room. I just have to sit at my chair basically and then pull stuff out from right underneath the table. So that was something that optimized the space because I can push that roller cart right underneath the table, but it was very functional for me because I can just reach right underneath the table while I'm painting. So that was another thing that was really, really nice. Now, a lot of you have been asking, how do I store my paints? And I am currently kind of working on that process. I'm still not super satisfied with it, but as of right now, and one thing that I would encourage you, if you're in a small space, always think up the wall. So currently right now I have a wooden sign that I bought probably about 6 years ago, and it was a Christmas wooden kind of, I don't know, sign that you could put cards on, like clip little cards on. I painted the entire thing white to match the aesthetic of the room. And then I added little nails, and with metal clips, I have hung all of my art paints on that board that I use pretty consistently. I have extra paints that I don't use all the time that are in a bin, but those are the ones that I use on a consistent basis. However, that being said, I've noticed that some brands of paints, they actually work really well by hanging them upside down because it helps push the paint, gravity helps push the paint towards the tube's opening. So it makes it easier for you to get the paint out and to also keep that paint kind of like a toothpaste thing, keep it kind of pushed towards the opening. However, some of my brands, especially my Schminky brands, and even Daniel Smith, I have a couple of Daniel Smith paints, they don't do well hanging up. And I think it's because the paint is so liquidy as it is, that a lot of times it will pour out. So I would just caution you, and that's the reason why I'm still trying to think of a process where I can kind of display all my paints where it's easy to pull them off. That's one reason why I really like that method. But I would say be cautious, because some of the paints, especially if they're more of a liquidy tube paint, will actually explode out, and that's not good. So anyway, just be cautious with that kind of method. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is actually my favorite part of the entire room, and y'all actually don't see it that much, and that is my inspiration kind of area. And this is where I tack up new ideas of what I want to do on this channel, tack up new ideas of basically future projects that I would like to work on. But that is this little corner over here. Sometimes you see a little bit of it in videos, but basically it's a bookshelf. And on that bookshelf, I have all of my art books that I find inspiration from. And on the wall, I have a cork board that I pin stuff on. So like sometimes when I'm out and about, I'll write on a scrap of paper. I usually try and keep Post-it notes in my purse, and I'll write on it real quick if I have an idea, a burst of an idea. And then when I come back, I'll pin it up on my corkboard so that I'm always have, if I ever get into a place where I'm like, I don't know what to create today, I have a pin board of stuff that I can just look at and go, oh yeah, I thought about that 3 weeks ago. Maybe I should try that today since I have some extra time. So that's just a little bit of a peek into my art studio and how I kind of film and how I kind of just organize the whole thing. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you like these types of videos. I like to do these types of videos where it's not as edited, but it kind of just lets you and I have a little talk time and a little connection time that's different from the usual videos that are on this channel. So before I leave, I do want to ask you, what are some things that you do in your art space or your art nook that really helps keep you organized? I would especially like to know how you organize your paints, because I'm still kind of working on that process, and I know a lot of other people are looking into that too. So please let me know down below, what are your genius ideas of how you organize your art space? And any ideas or tips would be so helpful, because I'm always trying to improve my space, and I'm sure all of you are trying to do that too. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this once again, and I will see you next time. Lots of love, y'all, and happy painting. Bye!